It's the people at the bottom of the income distribution who get hit worse by a recession. They stop getting overtime, they stop getting raises, they find it much harder to find employment when they get thrown out of work. If we look at what's happened to low-income families, say over a 30-year perspective, their real incomes, the incomes adjusted for inflation, haven't gone up that much. If you look at the bottom fifth of families in the income distribution, other things have gone up. The cost of housing has gone up. The cost of medical care has gone up. The cost of post-secondary school education has gone up. And so low-income families are finding it increasingly hard to stay where they are, let alone to improve their position. There's a great myth in the United States that we're a very upwardly mobile society, that anybody who has what it takes can move up to the next income bracket. Comparatively few people move up from the bottom fifth of the income distribution to some higher level. One of the reasons for this is that there's now a much bigger skill gap between low-income jobs and well-paying jobs. It used to be that you showed up at a low-income job and you did well and you could... There was a ladder to a much better paying job. Those ladders have disappeared because the skill demands of well-paying jobs have increased so much over the last 10 or 20 years. Everyone knows about the housing crisis. If you're a homeowner, you've seen the value of your home go down if you're lucky. If you've been unlucky, you've lost your home because you've got yourself into a mortgage where the interest rate kept on increasing and the payments kept on increasing. A lot of people think that the housing crisis can't get worse. And it may be true that the crisis in the price of housing won't get much worse. The crisis in the mortgage industry is, I'm afraid, going to be with us for at least another couple of years. A number of people have mortgages, some of these teaser rate mortgages, which will reset in 2011. That means the mortgage payment will get higher and a whole bunch of new families are going to be faced with the difficulty of how to make their mortgage payments. That means this crisis is with us for at least another 2 years in its worst form. I think what people don't realize is that renters are also in trouble because of the housing crisis. This is because some multi-unit buildings with 2 to 6 apartments, have also gone under. And very often the tenants have been kicked out because the bank can't figure out how to be a landlord as it tries to sell the building to someone else. So this housing crisis has affected a broad swath of families. Once a family gets into financial trouble, all kinds of bad things happen. If they have to move, there's the instability associated with moving to another house, another neighborhood, another city. Housing instability causes school instability, meaning that if you're moving houses frequently or if you're moving houses at all, your kids take time to settle down in a new school. And so the housing crisis, which appears to be just about putting a roof over your head, which is after all a big deal, it's not just also affects lots of other areas of your life. As the housing crisis develops, we start to think obviously about what can public policy do to make the crisis better. And there are a number of things. For many years in both Democratic and Republican administrations, we have assumed that the best housing outcome for everybody is to own their own homes. That is blatantly inaccurate and unfair and unpractical and unhelpful. We have to start thinking that there is a proportion of the population, somewhere in excess of 30%, who are always going to be renters, and we have to develop policies that help renters find good and stable housing. We need to figure out how to improve unemployment insurance so if people do get out of work, they don't dig themselves into a huge economic hole because there's nothing to support them. We have to figure out how to expand the already wonderful program of the Earned Income Tax Credit so there are supports with families at the lower end of the wage distribution. And we have to do something about the healthcare crisis. Just imagine yourself a low-income family with, say, 3 kids, and one of them has some kind of chronic condition, and you don't have healthcare insurance. Just imagine the time and the effort and the emotional stress that goes into worrying about how you get your kid through the next asthma crisis. And if we covered more people with some form of federally or state-supported health insurance, the stress on those families would decline dramatically. And that gives people more energy to look after their kids and figure out what they're doing about their jobs. Chapin Hall's in this wonderful position where it both has a lot of information about children and families, it has a lot of information about social services, and it has a lot of information about community development. If we can bring together the salient facts about the condition of families and children and their economic condition and the condition of their neighborhoods, I think we can understand these complex patterns perhaps better than any other institution.